أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أبو القاسم محمد، اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لترابي مقدمه فيها. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
We inshallah start with session number 3 today. I just want to clarify before we starting with the exercise. It's really important for all of us to go through the exercises because it is for our spiritual journey, and actually working through exercises, even if you are not if your goal is not to win this competition, but it would help really to understand and to see where the imams want to take us. So I do encourage you all to do it in time, and probably also it was my fault, I didn't give you any time limit, so probably not more than 2 weeks, and please return it back to me. Alright, inshallah we start with where did we reach last time. So we still want to know, we want to know you, God. To know Him Almighty, He's everywhere, and we gave the example of the diamond, and the diamond is very limited example because He is much more than the diamond, and we said that the mirror is required, so it gives better reflection and better understanding because of our limitation. Now, so we need to know who are we reflecting before we reflect, right? So we need to know more about Him. But the important thing is, it's not to know Him Almighty, but to know who is He not. Because the reality, He's everywhere, and He's all the goodness. So He's all around. So to know Him, we cannot know Him by essence. This is beyond our ability, and we have to keep on ascend in our existence so we can know Him better. But to know Him in this world, to start to know Him, is to know who's He not. So He is not the unjust. He is not. And when we say unjust, we always think about Fir'aun and what's like. But really the unjust is any unjust that inside us is not Him. This is what blocks Him. Well, blocks us from reaching Him. Nothing blocks Him. So the first thing to work on is to know who's He not. To reach that knowledge, it's only through practice. Because, for example, the unjust is the misery when we don't want to give from our time, from our self, from our money. That's the only way we know that we have this blackness in us or in the world around us. So only practice can bring this knowledge. So it's not really just a cognitive exercise, although it does start with that. It's through spiritual practices, and that's why Imam Askari says getting closer to Allah Almighty is a trip, can't be done but by riding the night. And this is through the spiritual journey and the actions. And here we are in Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan, and inshallah we will take this journey to Him Almighty. So to know Him, we have first to know what Islam, and that's surrender. And what does surrender mean? And how to reach to surrender is by wanting what He wants rather than what we want. And what blocks us from reaching Him is the example of the mirror. Either the essence of us is not good, or we made it not good by sinning, or we turned away because we've been engaged in something different, or we were blocked by something we put, or we don't know where to look. Now if we don't seek this, we don't seek to find Him, we will fall in the addiction to this world, we will fall in failing to gain the real pleasure, we will be just an ignorant collector of information, and by this we will not know Allah Almighty, and we will not know our Imam Ajjalallah Ta'ala Faraj Sharif. Now if we do seek this, we will reach to better understanding and better knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is through the practical knowledge. That's where we reached last time. Now I want to give you an example. This if we are looking and trying to find Allah, and we look at the heaven usually, and just imagine that there is a window, and there is a clear glass in the window, but still it will block something, so it's a bit hazy. Now somebody decided to spray it black, so now you don't see anything, and because there is no light, you even cannot see the frame. It's total blackness. And then there is a scratch, and a glimpse of light came. What would you do? You'll go to that light, try to see using that light, and then few glimpses of light came here and there, and then a big light came because you start to see better. That's our situation in this world. It's a total blackness from seeing Him Almighty all over and all around us. But He does send us these glimpses of light for us to see, and we need to go and stick to them because that's how we know them. Allama Qadi used to go to wherever he find that there is a reflection of God. For example, there's one of his students, he was just in the beginning, but he knows that he was so good with his family. Allama Qadi always goes to there, and when he was asked, he said, well, because he had love to his family, and because of that he is reflection of love of Allah, so I want to go there to see. So if we do this, if we seek Allah by seeking all these manners, because nothing good is coming from us, the goodness is from Him. So whenever we see good, that's Him trying to give us one of these lights. And if we stick to it, we will learn more, we will actually be enlightened, because that's why He sent this to us. And again, the hadith when saying that there are a glimpse of light comes every now and then in your life, and we know that Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan is filled with that, so inshallah we can get some of it. So it is a way to reach to that light, and the steps to be taken, and you can see we start with walking and then we go faster, so that's why we call the steps of the walkers. And that's what we are going to try to walk through in these sessions, to walk through these steps to trying to reach closer. We are going to use the platform of Manazil al-Sa'irin, the stations of the walker. This is a book written by Allama Abdullah al-Ansari al-Harawi, and it's a beautiful book. It's very well structured, and I can tell you that we are not going to finish this book. We are going to reach only in the beginning, but it's really good beginning. Now, the way he divided his book, he started with beginnings. So first we have to get this baseline in ourselves. If we finish the beginnings, and each stage of this has 10 stations, so in total it's 100. Once we finish the beginnings, the gates will open, and again in Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan, the gates of heaven open. So the gates will open. If we want to, after we go through the gates, to keep on walking, we have to go through the transactions. So this is our day-to-day life transaction, how we deal with people. If we master this, we will see the reality of ethics and manners. And once we get this, we reach to the origin of knowledge. So after mastering all the manners, you start to get some knowledge. And once you go through the origin of knowledge, you have to go through valleys, because the test now starts. So in these valleys you'll go through situations, and these situations will prove that you have reached the allegiance to the real wilayah. And once you reach to the real wilayah, you know the truth. And once you know the truth, but then to see the truth, you reach to the ending, and this is at the everlasting ending, because you reach close to Allah Almighty. And this is the stage of the prophets, and only the prophets and awliyaullah has reached there at this stage. So in the beginnings he also had 10 stations, and the first station in anything we do, the first thing is to be awake. So we are starting with awakeness. In the awakeness, I want to emphasize that these are not steps that when we finish one we leave it and go to the other. These are steps that it stays with us, because we keep on falling asleep, so we need to be awake, and we keep on waking ourselves up. So these stages, once you have one, you go to the other, but by containing the other one inside you. So you need to stay awake to repent, you need to stay in repentance to do the accounting, and so on. So these stages are not our steps that we leave, they are stages that we keep in and we go further. So because it's a walk, each walk or each action starts with waking up. So we have to wake up, then stand up, and then walk. So the actual reality of waking up is to be aware. It's the awareness of what's going on around me. It's the awareness of my world. It's awareness of my existence and what do I want to do and where do I want to reach. So once we are aware, we will decide to put this awareness in action and do something, and then we'll do it. So this is the reality of the walk, and that's why it starts with awakeness and awareness. So to know Allah Almighty better, we need to gain the knowledge through the practice, and this needs awakeness. So awakeness first, and then we go through the practice. Because everybody is asleep, as Imam Ali said. النَّاسُ نِيَامٌ إِذَا مَا مَاتُوا انْتَبَهُوا. People are sleeping, they wake up when they die. And why they wake up when they die? Because they were heedless, they did not know the reality. While if we wake up in our life, and that's probably the understanding of mutu qabla an tamutu, die before you die, which means actually the other way, wake up before you go, before somebody wakes you up later on. Right. So what is the opposite of, to understand it, let's see the opposite of waking up, which is what? Sleep? I mean, that could be, but the actual thing, so if we imagine it, are we just a sleepwalker? I mean, if we say we are not awake, are we just asleep and walking? Well, the reality, yes, it is in a way. Practically we are heedless of what's around us and what's waiting for us. So we are walking on straight, but we don't know that there's a cliff in front of us and we may fall. We are not aware of everything around us. We are not aware of this waswas which keep on trying to plot something to put us down. We need to be aware of all this around us, and once we start having this awareness, we will be present. We will be here. And just to give you one example, in the salat, just imagine what happened in the salat. You either think about the future, what I'm going to do, or you are thinking about, what happened in the past. You are never in the present. Try to be present, because if you think about who are you in front, you're in front of Allah Almighty, and you need to be present because He's in front of you. You cannot think of anything else around it. And once you be present, you will see the reality. But unfortunately, we always live either in the past or in the future. I'll give you another example, probably more practical for you and me. If somebody throw you and you don't know how to swim, throw you in the sea, would you think about the past or future? You don't have time. You will be so present. You want to protect yourself. You think about all the plans to get it right. And I give you, and actually once you reach that, you live in the present, you will live in a beautiful inner peace. And those who saw Kung Fu Panda, they'll understand the inner peace. So the inner peace is when you reach to that level that you are always present. And that's how he could manage, although it's a cartoon movie, but it has something behind it that once you live in the present, everything around you will be easy to manage and to deal with, even in the most difficult situation. Like Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in his most difficult situation, he was not depressed because he was present and he knows the reality that this action that he's taking, and despite the physical pain that he's getting so much spiritual joy. Right, probably I went far in this, but let's continue. So heedlessness is our sleep, and we need to be awake. We need to, so this ghafla, heedlessness, is the one that we need to overcome. How do we do that? Almighty God is continuously calling us, so we need to remember that it's not us who will do it. Allah keep on sending these messages, and we need to get it. Allah told us, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَعِظُكُمْ بِوَاحِدَةٍ أَن تَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ. Say, I advise you only on one thing, that rise up for Allah's sake. Rise up means what? Wake up, come up from this heedlessness. And when he talks in Surah Al-Mudaththir, although we always think he's just talking to our Prophet, but reality is he's talking to all of us. All you who are wrapped up, we are wrapped up in this dunya. We are wrapped up, we are totally wrapped up. We cannot see around us, and we are so much in a sleep. Arise and warn. Because it's only just, not only arise, but to arise and to know Him better. There should be an action, and that's why warn. So the wake up alarm is always from Allah Almighty. So the wake up call always comes from Allah Almighty. The wake up alarm is from Allah Almighty. So it's not us. So we always have this wake up alarm, either in our day or in the morning or any time. And we can get this from Dua Imam Ali, Dua Sawah for Imam Ali, when he says, My Lord, if your mercy does not wake me up by your blessing, who will guide me to you on the clear path? So really, it's your wake up which makes me going, or makes me going. So once we remove all the veils, we can see it. And the veils is what makes us know. And we need to get this, because Allah will keep on sending us these alarms and glimpses. We need to be waiting for it, and once we wait for it, you can see. And we know even in the quantum physics that the observer power can change things, can change electron to photon, and it's beautiful that science has proved that. So we can change something like the veil of dunya to the energy and spirituality of akhirah by observing it and trying to wait for it and keep it in our mind. So His mercy and His just imagine it, it's like rain, and the rain keeps on going. It's up to us how much we collect of that rain. If our pot is small, we collect that amount. If our pot is bigger and bigger, we'll collect much and much more water, much more knowledge. And water usually represent knowledge. So if we really want to get it, we have to increase our plate. Now you may ask me, so how to do that? How to enlarge our plate? How to enlarge our pot? How to get this call? That's the question. The first thing is Quran, and Quran, sometimes you don't understand it. I mean, you read it, but believe me, it's at one point, at one stage, at one situation of the heart, it will get you. The famous story of Fudayl bin Iyad, he used to be a gangster, and once he threatened a lady that he will come at night and rape her, and the village did not, they were so much frightened and they could not protect her. So the only thing, her neighbor kept on reading Quran all over the night. So when this man came and he decided to go over the fence, he heard a verse, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُم. Has the time not come for those who believed, for their heart to be softened? And they should not be like those who got the book before them, and because of the long time their heart is hardened. He listened to this, and suddenly he said, yes, the time came. And this man changed 180 degree to a very pious gentleman. So you never know. Either you read the Quran with understanding, with some understanding at least, we don't understand the whole, or even if you read just a small part but dig in the meaning, it will bring you something. Once you have some action, Allah will send you more. Believe in that, and it will work for you. The other thing is kindness. If we are kind, we are representing, or really we are reflecting what Allah has sent through us, and that's beautiful, because once you are a good mirror, you will receive more light and more enlightenment. And the famous story of Allama Rushdie, where he used to be a very poor gentleman. He was studying hard in Hausa, and once at night, and at that time he was really poor to the level he had only 1 or 2 bread a day. That's all what he can eat. And once he was walking at night, and he saw a dog with her children, and she couldn't do anything. So he decided to go to the river, wet the bread, and he fed the bread to the dog. And it's interesting for all of us, because we have this fright from dogs, and we need to change this, because although it's najis in Islam, but it's an animal's creation of God. We have to deal with it as such, and we just wash our hand after that. We should not be over anxious from dogs. Anyway, so we go back, and once he did that, the second day, he heard that he had a very rich relative in another city who died, and he wrote the will all to Allama Rushdie. So he's a very rich man. So he decided to, because he loved his life that he was in, so he decided to donate all this money to a knowledge seeker. And once he did that, the gates of heaven opened to him, and that's what he said. I fed the dog a bread, and Allah fed me the food of Akhirah. So kindness, even to animal, can change lots. So what do you think about kindness to your parents, your family, and then to the whole world? Then dua. Dua is very important, especially in these 3 months. Try to pick a dua. That's why I sent you before a dua. These words are not usual words. Remember, because we are reflecting, these are through the best of mirrors. So they are the words of Allah. These dua are not just because our imams were eloquent in their language. No, it is really from Allah. So we try to pick one and master it, and by this we will understand it better, and then go to the other, and we'll see, inshallah, we'll reach. The other thing is the choice of friend. Really very important, because the famous saying, tell me who's your friend, I'll tell you who you are. They do affect, unfortunately. They have an effect, even if you say I'm good, but they do at the end take you somewhere. And the last thing is to be in the magnetic field. The magnetic field of Ahlul Bayt, of Wilayah, is very important. So to start your day with Dua al-Faraj, or with something to Imam Hujjah, Ajallah Ta'ala Faraj Sharif, call Imam Hussein, because believe me, he will send him salam, just salam, Salamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. He will answer you, and these answers will put you in the magnetic field, which will bring you in and bring this rain to you. So these are the ways that we can enlarge our plate. Now, if we do enlargement, how to wake up? How can we reach there? The author will advise us with 3 things. First, to continuously see the gifts of Allah. Try to sense all these gifts. And it's not only, when we say about gifts, it's not only what He gives you of food and shelter and these things, which is definitely part of it, but everything, your knowledge, the ideas that come to your mind, your action, all this is gifted from Allah. And then to remember your mistakes, so you try to clean the path in front of you, and then to really appreciate your time, because time is so limited in this dunya, and we cannot waste it a lot, because really we don't have so much time. So if you imagine that we are walking and we are trying to reach, so Allah will send us these glimpses to see better, and this is the sensing of ni'mah. We need to go to these ni'mah, like what Allama Qadi used to do. Whenever he see a good action, he stick to it, because that's where Allah reflected, or the manner, manifested, let's say. The manifestation of Allah came there, so he wants to see it. And then he tried to remove these heavy weights that we are holding, because it will put us back, and either our walk will be slow, or actually even it drags us back. So we need to remove these, and these are our sins and mistakes. And when we do that, really we'll find there's no time. We have to look for the light, we have to remove, and we have no time to waste with other things. So these are the 3 advice that we have to work on. Let's start with the first one, with seeing Allah's gift. This is by continuous awareness of the ni'mah and gift, and accepting that we cannot count them, and then by knowing that we owe Allah for this, because He gave this to us not because our action or we deserve it, but because of His generosity, and we know that we will never be able to count them. How do we do that? First, with the continuous awareness of Allah's gift. Allah says, if you would count of Allah's favor, you will not be able to number them. Really, we cannot. Because the reason why we cannot, because He actually gave us these ni'mah. He made His bounties flow to you in exceeding measures, both seen and unseen. If we think about it, the seen is the food, the shelter, the knowledge, all these ni'mas around us. But there are unseens. Do we know how our cell work? How the nucleus gets its energy from the how the cell gets the energy from the mitochondria. All these ni'mas that's hidden and we don't think about it, it's also there. And when we know it, we will know Him better, because that's all the details that He put for us to continue. So if we think about these two, why we are not aware? First, because we are not thinking about it. Second, because we are so much used to it. We think it's for granted. We don't think that we don't have it. And the only way is by looking at others. If we go to Pakistan, we can see these children looking in the dirt, in the rubbish, to get some food, and they are so happy eating from it. While us, if we don't find the right food, we get angry. If we don't find what we want, and we are so picky. While those guys, they are just eating, and we are picky because we are not hungry, and we are spoiling ourselves. So we are not sensing this ni'mah. Even if we go to Afghanistan, and we will find this lady is so happy with living in this house, while us, with the best beds and the best place, we are not happy. If you go to Iraq, you'll find this lady living in this what's called house, and she's fine with that, well, in it to that degree. So we need to continuously try to see what we have and compare, because that's the only way for us to sense how much Allah has given us. At the same time, if you go to India, those guys are so happy that they have one computer in the whole village and they play with it, while for us, if we don't get the most updated laptop or iPhone or iPad, we are not happy. We are not sensing how much ni'mah Allah is giving us. So those guys don't get bored. Well, we get bored so easily. If you don't play one game after 10 minutes and change it to something, or if you don't play anything for 10 minutes, oh, I'm bored. boredom is a problem, and it's actually one of the result of addiction and result of looking at ourselves only. Those guys don't, because they do appreciate that the whole village have won, and they don't get bored. They never actually get bored, and they don't commit suicide. Why somebody decide to take this gift? Like, can you imagine how rude if somebody in your birthday give you a gift and you burn it in front of him? It's so rude. And that's what we do with Allah. He gives us gifts and gifts and gifts, and we don't appreciate what He gives. And we never appreciate that we may not have ability to move our limbs. This man had a car accident. Now he cannot move his 4 limbs, and he cannot even talk. He has a microphone. We don't appreciate this ni'mah because it's unseen for us, because it's for granted, it's there. The same if those guys lost all their limbs and they are happy, they are playing sport. Now, when we see this, we can appreciate a bit more how much we have and how much we have to do. Actually, we cannot count the ni'mah. It's so much ni'mah around us. Then we go to the second thing. We owe Allah this ni'mah, really. Allah said, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are grateful, I will certainly give you more. And if you are ungrateful, my chastisement is truly severe. What does that mean? What does shakur mean? What's shukr mean? Usually we say it's thankfulness, which is the actual literal translation. But this is the word translation. The actual meaning, the reality of thankfulness is what? What does it mean when Allah describes Himself as He's doing thanks for us? Can we think, why would Allah say thank you for you? So, for example, again to the birthday party, and somebody give you a present and thank you for what? What did you bring me the gift? And you are saying thank you for what? So what's the meaning of shakur? What's the meaning is shukr here? How Allah get shukr, or how He is doing shukr? He's the most appreciative. Allah thankful when He appreciate what you do for Him. So when you deal with His gift in the right way, He will do shukr for you, because Allah said Allah is the most forgiving and grateful. The translation. Because Allah said He will not make the action of the good doer to go in vain. So He will reward everything. So the reality of shukr is the appreciation of His bounty. So what does that mean for us? It means that if He gives me something and I don't deal with it in the right way, I'm not shakur. I'm actually kafur. And the usual example we give, again, if you get the car of your father and you ruin it, you are not shakur. And you have a car accident, that's not shukr, that's not appreciation here. So this is the appreciation. Allah gave us this body to look after it first, and also to use it in the right way. He gave us the mind. So if we decide to ruin the mind by watching things and which makes it dirty, this is not shakur. This is definitely not shukr. And one of the important thing in this to be awake is to do the real shukr, the practical shukr, by using what Allah gave us in what He wants us to do to deal with it. So that's why the meaning of if you are grateful by doing or using what He gave us in the right way, I would certainly give you more, because this is my equation. Do good, I will give you more. If you are not grateful, so the equation also, if you burn things, they will stay burned. And this is chastisement. Because chastisement is actually, it's an equation. It's do this, or not. If you don't do this, you'll not have this, or you'll have the punishment. Right. And the last thing is, for the sensing the gifts, is we cannot pay Him back. And I will use, or actually, the problem is we are not able to pay back because we don't know them all first, right? And even what we do thank him for needs more thanking, because even when you say thank you, you are using what?
Breathe.
You are using the breath, and you are using your mind. So you are using the tools that he gave you. So you need to give him 3 thank you for one.
Well, thank you.
And that's what Imam Sajjad told us. My Lord, your continuous gifts made me forgetful of thanking you. This is the position of he who confessed that you gave him a lot, but he did not appreciate. My Lord, how little is my shukr, my thankfulness, compared to your bounties. As your bounties so many, my tongue can't count them, and my mind can't be aware of them. So how can I say shukr? And saying shukr deserve giving shukr. So he gave you all these details. It's nothing from our understanding. This is a dua, and one dua can give you all this information from our Imam. So what helps to improve our appreciating to thankfulness is knowledge. If I study more biochemistry or biology, I know more about the cell, and I know how much he gave me, and I'll be more thankful. So knowledge will tell us more about his ni'mah, and we know more about how much he gave us. Continuously we try to see the challenged people, because only by seeing them we appreciate how much we have. So going to see the fuqara, going to see the poor and needy, it's really important to know him a bit better, and only by this we can remove me. We can remove the I-ness from ourselves, because it's not me, it's him who gave me all this. Look at those people and how much he gave me, and still I'm not appreciating. So this is the first thing. The second thing is to remember our mistakes, to remove these heavy burdens that we are having and preventing us from knowing him. And this is first by we count these sins, and that's the important thing. We do mistakes, but we do forget a lot, so we don't think about them, and we don't. And once we don't think about them, we think we are so good, and we are not. I'm not putting you down or putting myself down, but that's the reality. We do mistakes. We are human. We do mistakes, and we need to remember these mistakes so we can hate them, so we can remove them. So that's the one thing. Then understanding its danger, because sometimes you do mistakes. Say, "Oh, that's fine. It's nothing. I just watched something not good, but Allah will forgive me." No, it doesn't work that way. It's not the matter of Allah forgive you. It's the matter of these things have consequences. If you do something wrong, there is a universal equations, and this will bring things down. So these are heavy burdens. I need to start doing something for it. So once I know how dangerous it is, now I start to avoid them. And definitely when somebody tells you, put your hand in the fire, you won't do that, because you know it will burn you. We don't have this understanding about sins, and that's why we are going for it. And the last thing is, because they are burden, I want to walk faster, I try to remove them. So how do I count the mistake? Check yourself before you get checked. You know the angels are writing, and everything is written. You are audited really, really strictly. Inna Allah la yudhi'u ajra al-muhsinin. The Prophet said, check yourself before you get checked. So this is the important hadith from the Prophet to encourage us to go further. And the second thing is understanding how dangerous it is, and the only way we know that is we know that it is an equation, and Allah gave us all the equation. If you do riba, as if you are eating the dead meat. If you drink, that's what happens. So Allah really, this fiqh, the fiqh they are a real equation. They are not just preferences from Allah. No, not at all. Fiqh, and that's why, for example, Al-Qadi and all those high scholars, they don't accept to teach manners unless they have their students mujtahid. I mean, I'm not trying to make it difficult for us, but the reality is, this will tell them that this man first is serious about seeking Allah. Second is, this is the vehicle to go. And all these are the equations to make us better. And we try hard to avoid them by being serious in getting them away and trying to avoid them, and then to remove them. How to remove them? First, by paying back people. If you did ghiba, how many of us will be brave enough to tell that person, I'm sorry, I talked badly about you? We don't. Right? And just imagine in the day after, and in the hereafter, those who we did riba on, they can come and they ask you to pay them back, or Allah will tell you to pay them back. And actually, the judgment there is different. They can ask for whatever they like. So just imagine if you do riba on one of these unbelievers around you, and they come in the hereafter where they are zero, they have nothing in their account. How much can they take from it? Does it worth it? Does it worth talking about any of them? It's not really. So riba by itself, if you look at its reality, it doesn't serve you in anything. And if you are going to pay, if I tell you that, okay, everything is counted on you, and we know that you did that, how much riba, and for each riba you have to pay $100,000, would you do it? You won't. So that's exactly how it is, and that's how we need to think about it and deal with it. So how can we reach there? How can we be better in it? By sensing Allah's greatness. Because as one of our ulama said, there is no saghir, there's no small sin and large sin, all of them large, because you are doing it in front of who? It's in front of Allah. If I do that sin, just imagine, because I do it because I'm in heedlessness, I don't understand that Allah is watching me. But if I always think that Allah is watching me, I wouldn't do even the small one. The second thing is believing in what He promised. Believing in all these fiqh equations are real equation, are universal equation. And once we believe that, really we don't have time to do any haram things. And the last thing is to know ourselves. We always think that we are good. We believe in ourselves. Believe in yourself and you'll do it. That's the usual thing that we hear from TV, which is okay if you are believing that you are not good. If you are believing that there's lots of area of improvement, and if you don't turn there, that's what Yusuf alayhi salam said. Even Yusuf, he's the prophet, the Ma'soom. That's what he said when they want to lure him to badness. And if you don't turn their advice from me, I will yearn towards them and become one of the ignorant. Why ignorant? Means heedless of you looking at me. So even the Ma'soom says, if you are not helping me in doing this, I'll be heedless. So we ask him for help to reach, to be better. Now we go to the last thing, I'm sorry I took long today, is respecting our time. And this is really very important. Remember, if you are so much engaged in getting rid of the sins, avoiding them, trying to not to fall in them, and to try to see where you can improve yourself, and to see the glimpse from Allah lights and go to it, you have no time really to waste. Imam alayhi, he said, whoever has his day, this day, similar to yesterday, he's a loser. It may be very hard, but really in the trading business, that's how they count things. If today their gain is similar to yesterday, they said we are in a loss. So when the United States or the Europe, when talking about they have negative balance, they are not really losing, but their negative balance that they did not gain more. So that's how we have to count it with akhirah also. And it's very interesting. Sorry, in the old days they used to sell ice, and this ice seller, he used to sell ice in a hot day. So what happened to the ice?
Melted.
He melted. So what was he calling? Irhamu man ra'su malihi yadub. Have a mercy on a man, his capital is melting. And what's our capital? Our capital is our time. Our capital is our life, and life is time. So if we are wasting life, so you can imagine, for example, if you live 60 or 90 years, let's say 60 years, 1/3 of it you are asleep anyway, so that's 20 years gone, and the rest of it, the 40 years, in the beginning when you were a child you didn't do anything, so really you don't have much of time to improve yourself and run. We are really struggling to get more time. Just imagine, when you advance in your study, you'll have these exams where you have 400 questions to be all answered in 3 hours. And just imagine with that, and somebody come tell you, what about we just have 5 minutes to play this video game? What would you say? Go away. Or somebody comes and tell you, oh, what about we go out to have some rest? You won't do it because you don't have time. And that's how we have to feel our position in this dunya. We don't have time. Really, we don't. Because time is money. And you feel that when you go to a consultant, for example, consultant doctor, and they cost you a lot. So you pay for them per hour. It depends. From, I don't know, 200 to 1,000 per hour, whatever. Because time is money. And if you don't go to that, they will send you a bill also. Right. So time is more expensive than money, isn't it? What do you think? Can you buy time? No. So even that consultant, he is unfortunately selling their life with time, because you are giving their 1 hour of their life for 300 or something. This is actually, at the end of the day, it doesn't worth it, because this time is more important than money. You can buy money by time, you cannot buy time by money. With that, we should not be generous with our time. If somebody come and tell you, let's go out, and you go under the peer pressure and you have to do something, don't be generous with your time, because really you don't have time to be generous with. If somebody come and tell you, let's go and play this video game or something, and you feel pressured, and because if you don't do that, they don't talk to you, well, the reality is you don't have this time to give. So we need to think seriously about it. Why are we doing it, and what are we doing it, and how do we use our time? I'm not telling you that don't talk to anybody and be so much miser, but there are lots of things that we can avoid wasting time with. And the main thing is learn to say no. When somebody wants to waste your time, try to say no. And we are not very good in this, and that's what we need to build on. From our beloved Prophet, he said, no servant of Allah will move forward in the day of judgment before he will be asked about 4 things. His life, how did he spend it? His youth, and we have to concentrate on this. Why? Because this is the high energy period. His youth, how did he use it? Because that's all your power now. How are you going to use this power? You can spend it in joy, because that's what most people say, oh well, it is the time where I need to enjoy myself, I'll do everything after, I go to Hajj, I do everything after. Well, unfortunately, this is the time of a gain, and if you don't gain now, you may not gain it thereafter. his money from where he got it and for what he spent it and how much he loves my Ahlul Bayt. Definitely we'll ask about this, because loving them will put us on the right, shortest path. Okay, so how can we achieve that? First, by listening and acquiring knowledge, and this is by sitting with the knowledgeable. You cannot imagine how much it will give you to sit with an alim. I know we have this afraid of seeing them and sitting with them, and I agree that some of them may not give you this time, but really if you find the alim that he give you his time, and there's a lot of them, there's a lot to gain. Not just by visiting them, you will learn a lot from their manners, from their, I mean, we have the recent trip and we saw ulama, and we felt how much we gained just by looking to see them. If we give importance to religious duty, that would leave us with no time to do anything else, because now we know the equation tells us to do all this and these things, and these equations are universal equations. It's the whole universe run by them. So really will leave you not much time to do something else. And even if you do have the time, try to seek the company of a good people, because that would keep you always on the track. It may be a challenge to find a good people, but always believe that Allah will send you one once you ask Him, because He would never leave anybody alone. Alright, so in Dua Abu Hamza Thamali, what Imam Sajjad told us, or you did not find me sitting with scholars, so you let me down. Or you saw me among the heedless, so you deprive me of your mercy. Or you find me liking to sit with ignorant, so you left me alone with them. I mean, really, Imam Sajjad touching really very sensitive points here. And in all his dua, he actually touched all of our practical life. So it's very important to seek to sit with scholars or listen to them. It's if we sit with the heedless, and there are lots around us, we will be deprived of the mercy and we will be left alone. So we need to think what we want to do and how can we be awake. Because otherwise, if you walk with the sleepers, you will be asleep. So we need to find those wake up people to go with them. So to wrap up, to walk, we need to find these lights around us, and these are the ni'mah that Allah gave us. We need to remove the heavy burdens by counting our mistakes and trying to remove them, and then we appreciate that we don't have much of time to waste, so we can go. Only by this we can be awake at the end. This is mainly by removing all the addictions that we have, and this all come from me, and if I practice to remove me, I'll be awake. So we have to remember that we cannot pass this station. This station always with us, because we can have this glimpse of light. So we are now awake. So we are like a small star in the whole universe, and our existence will enlarge by becoming better. But can we be asleep again? Yes. Once we stop being awake, we'll be asleep and we'll decline again. So this station is a continuous problem, because in this life, can anybody say that physically they can stay awake for long? Recently my daughter told me that they ran a study where somebody stayed awake for 300 hours and he went crazy. So we are not talking about that, but all of us will be asleep and we need to wake up. So the wake up call always gets sent to us from Allah. We need to pick them and go, inshallah. Now, although I promised that the exercises will be every 2 weeks, but because waking up is so important, I would like to give you an exercise this time, but I promise not the week after. This exercise is, now if you and your friend listen to this lecture and now your friend asks you, now how can we apply this? What's your answer? So I want you to write to me from what you understood today. What are you going to advise your friend, or how practically to apply these? I want you to think about it, and how are you going to apply, or how are you going to advise people to apply this in their life? Alright, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
یتیما با ظرفشی ساکتن و سر بزی غم رو شونه هاشون عشق چشماشون روی گونه هاشون ناله میکنن از غم باباشون عشق چشماشون روی گونه هاشون ناله میکنن از غم باباشون اون که شب میومد تک و تنها روی شونش نون و خورما حالا فهمیدن که کی بوده که شبها با حال خسته میومد با روی بسته حالا فهمیدم علی بود